All right, what is up, everybody, and welcome into this week's edition of the South Florida Comedy Calendar. This show where every single week we keep you up to date on what happened, what's happening, and what's coming up in South Florida comedy. Guys, I'm your host, Sebastian Alvarez. I'm a local comedian down here in South Florida. I also work over at the best club in town, the Miami Improv, guys. And I am joined today, as I am every single week, by my good friend, also a comedian down here in South Florida, also works at the Miami Improv. Give it up, and hello, Art Roach. How you doing?
Oh, Sebi, I'm doing pretty well, man. We're having a couple of technical issues with our AI generation right now. But I want to let you guys know, last week we had that show at Vape Queen. It was an amazing show. Ellie Rodriguez put together probably what's going to be one of the best shows, weekly shows here in South Florida. So got to shout them out. Davey. Actually, I got to meet not only the Vape Queen, but the Vape Princess, who helps her run the store. We had Daba on it, Zach Newford, Ernie Ozuna. And two special guests I want to shout out: Nick Souffrant, absolute killer,
nice.
Ridiculous Nick, and Mac Lawson, who came in as special guests. And I'm telling you guys, the club, they're going to be remodeling the entire vape shop into a comedy club. So over the next couple of weeks, look out for some really dope shout outs. And a big shout out, Ellie, man, for putting this together for us.
Really cool, really cool. And they're also doing a lot of interesting stuff out there. I saw, as you can see, the AI, I think, picked up something that we put on social media where you posted that you did have a caricature artist create a caricature of you, and now the AI did get a little mixed up, doesn't know whose art,
We're using ChatGPT.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working
and
on
so
it.
shout out Kahlo Art. That's who made the caricature that ChatGPT found in his
real human artist.
Yes.
Not AI.
Correct.
Well, that's cool. Mixing AI with art. That's awesome. And art. There you go. Anyway, guys, I want to also quickly, before we get into it, introduce our guest for the week, man. This guy has done so much in the comedy game, and I can't wait to get into the interview and learn a little bit more about that and give you guys some more information. And he's not only a great performer, but he's also a great producer, guys. So I want everybody here in South Florida and in the Community News Studios to put your hands together for the very funny Josh Brak.
Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
Woo! All right, Dan, calm down. All right. Okay.
Yeah, Dan was very excited about getting his pictures today. That was weird.
Dan's cousin's here today. But man, Josh, thanks for coming on the show, dude. I really appreciate you coming out. We're gonna talk about mainly your Wash Your Mouth Out comedy show. You just had one this last week, right?
Last Thursday. How did that go? It was awesome, man. As always, it's awesome. It's a community event, so we sponsor charities through every show. So the proceeds from all the door go to the charities. Every month we rotate it. So every month we have a different charity. We've done fire rescue, pet project stuff, all kinds of pet rescues. We've got one coming up with drilling wells in Africa for people for water. So we're sponsoring that. Yeah,
Mr. Beast over here.
Is it right? Yeah, right. Yeah. So usually we use the slogan of just like bad words for a good cause. You know, like that's what we try to do, man. It's been awesome. Yeah, we've done a lot of really cool charities that I don't even think like we would think of, sometimes too. So
I mean, the room looks dope. You can see in the picture right there beneath this guy.
Shout out the Wilton Collective, right?
Yeah. Wilton Collective is awesome. They have their own charity there, so they help a lot of kids in the community.
Cool.
They're really cool, and then they have an event space right next door to it, so it's kind of like a speakeasy. And you go in there, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, there's a bar, there's a stage, like chair. It's all lit up. It's dope. They've worked with us for almost a year now, so it's been exciting.
That's really dope.
And it's dope. I was there last month, and man, like when the lights go down and you feel like you're in a comedy club. It's like perfectly made. You got plenty of seats. The drapage all around kind of keeps it intimate, and the sound bounces in. Really good spot.
Yeah, we've worked in, it's kind of evolved over the past year, but they've been awesome to us. They're really like trying to push to get comedy just in that area, because there really wasn't anything in that like Central Fort Lauderdale, Wilton, Oakland Park, like, outside of downtown. Like you just don't see a whole lot. It's pretty far from the Improv, so people in that area just didn't really have anything to go to. So it's exciting to do that, and it's nice because it doesn't compete really with the weekend shows, so people can hit that up and they can go see some of their favorites still. So
and I'll say, as a comedian who's been there, you have one of the best kind of green room areas for comedians. You know what I mean? You really take care of the talent that's there. I mean, we always end up wandering around the club anyways, but it's a great spot. It's like a special little VIP section.
And you were saying that was on Thursday, right?
Yeah, it's on Thursday.
So, Art, you also had a show last Thursday, correct? What was happening at the Arlo Hotel last Thursday?
Dude, so last week, I finally got on to the Higher Ground show with Polly Barrios.
Heck yeah.
Dude, shout out Polly. She actually got sick, so she wasn't able to host, but we had Julie Baez step in.
Not bad.
It was amazing, dude. The whole show was dope. We had Julie there. I was there. Lonnie Cox performed as well. And the big headliner was Mike Centrone, who these last couple of weeks, man, I keep running into him. I keep seeing him perform and just absolutely kill it. So shout out Polly, shout out Julie for just doing a great job. And I can't wait to get back there. We're going to definitely get back there. This week, Dan was out of town, so he was not able to be there. Next time on the show, we'll definitely come back with some recap reels.
Absolutely, man. That's super dope. I love that space at the Higher Grounds in Arlo, man. Shout out to everyone who runs shows out there. I think recently I did a Don't Tell out there. Cafecito has done shows out there. We definitely have a bunch of cool stuff happening at the Arlo Hotel. So you guys want to stay locked in, not only with the people who are producing it, but also with that Higher Grounds Arlo page, because they do a lot of cool events out there. Shout out to them, and shout out to them supporting live comedy, guys. And you may have noticed in the shot, guys, you don't need to adjust your screen. I am a little bit tanner than I was last week on the show. And that is because, like we said last week, guys, I spent this weekend in the Bahamas at the Tuga Comedy Club doing 4 shows in 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. And I mean, the Bahamas had completely exceeded my expectations from the minute we got there, man. Huge shout out to everybody who not only works over at the Tuga Comedy Club and Supper Club, but shout out to the Bahamian people and everybody there, man. The vibes were immaculate. Thank you so much to Ali and Gino, the owners of the club, for just making it an amazing weekend, being incredible hosts to not only myself, but also all the other comics who came through as well. If you're looking right here, we got a walkthrough of the Tuga Comedy Club happening, and it's a brand new space. They've only done like 4 or 5 shows out there in terms of comedy booked outside, but that's the green room right there that they've called the Black Room because they painted it black. But if you're looking at the club here, it's super tight. It's an intimate space. It is curated perfectly for stand-up comedy. Like that, it is a space that was built for that. So there is nothing you have to worry about in terms of the vibes once you get on stage, man. It is fantastic, Tuga Comedy Club. We had a great lineup of comics also come through and absolutely killed it all weekend, guys. We had our host, Shad Fur, who is a local comedian. You can see him right there in the top left of the picture there. He is super funny, man. Does every facet of entertainment. He's not just a comedian out there in the Bahamas. He does a lot of really, really, really cool stuff, man. We had Chanel Ali, who also featured. She is Philly-based, or from Philly, like Philly-originated comic. I believe she's in New York now. She was on Girl Code. She's done a lot of really, really dope stuff, and she murdered this weekend. Grace Kelly also came through and was able to do a set on Saturday night. She was there. It was really, really fun. Obviously, from Miami, guest of the show, been on the show before. Really, really fun. And obviously, Anthony Moore came through and headlined that show, and he killed it, man. Anthony, you've maybe seen him. He's done Comedy Central before. He's opened up for Kevin Hart. He was recently touring and opening up for Shane Gillis. He is also a Philly-based comic. Funny enough, that was a complete coincidence getting 2 Philly comics to come out and perform on that show. It was a random coincidence, but they actually came up together, so it was dope seeing them go back-to-back on that lineup and being able to close out that show super strong every single night, man. I really was I was blown away. The food there at the Tuga Comedy Club and the Supper Club is second to none, I believe, in the Bahamas. They are absolutely killing it. And their staff is fan-frickin-tastic, man. The staff there at the Tuga Comedy Club is amazing. Shout out quickly to Vardo, Wayne. Wayne was there bartending at the bottom. He made us our drinks all weekend. He absolutely killed it. And shout out to Vardo as well, who is an amazing server out there who took care of us and was always making sure that we were on point and well satiated during our time at the club, man. So huge shout out to everybody there, man.
And I'll say this, man, like, months and months ago when Ronnie Badger headed down to the Bahamas, we were excited about all the things that could happen. Him kind of, letting us know about Tuga,
Well, he didn't.
Huh?
He didn't let us know about Tuga.
Well, he performed there, didn't he?
Yeah, but he didn't let us know about Tuga. They reached out to me well before he was ever on a lineup.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. It had nothing to do with Ronnie.
Well, that's the first time I heard about it. Was when Ronnie performed there.
No.
And just having you be there now, taking the comedy calendar overseas. And they posted something yesterday. I'm going to read it here on the comedy calendar. So this is from Tuga Comedy Club on their Instagram. Sebastian Alvarez hit the Tuga Comedy Club stage and brought the heat. From wild stories to killer punchlines, this man had the crowd cracking up all night long. His energy, electric. His delivery, on point. His set, a straight-up masterclass in comedy. Thank you, Sebastian, for bringing a unique voice, big laughs, and nonstop vibes to Nassau. You left it on the stage, and we felt every second of it. So,
yes, sir.
Appreciate Tuga, man, giving my boy a chance.
That was really awesome as well. A huge shout out to them. Thank you for posting that. That was really great. They posted a bunch of really awesome content for all of us the whole weekend. And also, before I finish with this, I really want to shout out the Bahamian people, because that was the crowd that came out. It wasn't tourists. We weren't getting people from Atlantis and Baha Mar and all those other places. No. These were the real people of the Bahamas, and they came out and supported live comedy like I never thought they would, and it was amazing, guys. Huge shout out to the Bahamas. I loved it, and I can't wait to go back. I know for sure at some point, even if I'm not performing, I'm going to go back if it's just to see a show at the Tuga Comedy Club maybe again, because everybody out there really
comedy calendar from Tuga. Who knows?
Comedy calendar from Tuga. We can get that done, man. But absolutely, guys.
Ray, you want to go to the Bahamas, Ray?
Yeah, you want to go to the Bahamas?
Yeah. Julian, you want to go to the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Dan, you ready?
I got my thong ready.
Dan
Dan
says he has his thong ready for the Bahamas. So we're definitely at some point going to come out there, maybe take it over and we could do a whole podcast from the Tuga Comedy Club.
We'll do anything from the Bahamas.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. We'll do anything there. But thank you guys again, everyone out there in the Bahamas. You guys absolutely made me feel like I was at home the entire weekend, guys. So thank you. That was last week, though, in South Florida and international comedy for you guys here on the comedy calendar. But going into this week, guys, we're moving on to Tuesday at the Miami Improv, May 20th at 8 p.m. We have our monthly installation at the Miami Improv of the New Faces of Comedy. Guys, if you haven't been out to a New Faces yet, you got to come out this month, because every single time it is a good show. We have a bunch of really fantastic comics that have signed up already to perform. We have guest sets happening by myself, Art, Julian, who's our backstage producer right now. A great lineup, and our host is actually going to be Grace Kelly as well. So you have an amazing host that's going to be moving the whole show the entire night, getting you guys started off on the right foot. So there's nothing and no reason for you guys not to come out to the show this week, guys, because it is free. You just got to say any of our names, any of the names that I just said. You can say it at the door, and you'll get in for free.
And for any comedians that are out there, like, dude, we say it every month. Sign up. If you can't sign up, hit up Ellie. You know, she does give out guest spots, so she has to kind of parse them out. But just getting on stage and getting that good audience will have dark vision there to film it, to capture the whole night and clip it up for you. So, dude, it's gonna get worse and worse as the year finishes. It's gonna be harder and harder to sign up. So get the ones you can.
Sounds good, man. Absolutely. Moving forward as well, though, from the Tuesday at the Miami Improv, we're moving on to Wednesday at the Miami Improv, guys. And that is where I will be hosting for Jason Ellis, guys. And if you haven't heard about him, you've probably seen him somewhere on your social media at some point, because he has got a bunch of podcast appearances that he's done. I think he was doing a podcast with Tony Hawk for a little bit, I believe so, which is super dope. But he is an Australian guy who's lived in LA. He went from a skateboarder to an MMA fighter to a radio podcast guy. Like, he's jack of all trades. He's done it all.
He's one of those guys that, like, on the podcast, when I first kind of saw him, I'm like, bro, this guy's, he spoke as a comedian, but he had all these experiences. And I'm like, bro, who is this guy?
Right.
Really a big fan. And then when you told me this week that you're going to be opening for him, dude, I cannot wait. This is one of those comedians. I will be backstage. I'll be nerding out, and I'll be like, dude, can I get a picture with you? For sure.
Absolutely. And I'm honored to be able to be the host for that show, guys. So if you want to come out to the Miami Improv, just hit me up. I have a few comps for that show. So by all means, let me know, and I can save you guys a spot and a ticket for that show on the 21st at 8 p.m. over at the Miami Improv, guys. Staying on the improv theme, though, we have a packed lineup now of locals now, I guess, performing in that middle block, because we got all the locals for New Faces. We got me on that Wednesday show, and we got Have-Nots on Thursday, guys. And this lineup for the Have-Not show, super fantastic, man. We got Julie Baez, we got Zach, we got Michelle, we got Clyde, Dom P, Manny G. I mean, come on. Masterclass of a lineup here, guys. Everybody there is super funny. And I think, I'm getting a message from our producers, guys. I'm so sorry. We have to cut to a commercial break. We got to keep the lights on here at the Community Newspaper's Comedy Calendar. So as we go right now, hit that commercial break. Hey, stop scrolling! I just found the best place in South Florida for a night out. Aren't you guys tired of going out to the bars every night, spending all your money, and then thinking to yourself the next day, why did I do that? So come out to a Have-Not show, guys. The comics are always hilarious. Look, they have millions of views online. They work with some of the best comics in the country, too. You never know who's going to show up. And at a Have-Not show, the tickets are cheaper than a cup of coffee. They have shows conveniently located at the Fort Lauderdale and Miami Improv. Have-Not Comedy has been producing shows for 15 years, guys. They have hundreds of 5-star reviews, and they produce shows with Comedy Central and Live Nation. So what are you waiting for, guys? Click right here and plan your next best night out, guys. Come on, just click on it. not that hard. It's right there on the screen. Right here. Click on it. Get tickets. Come on. What are you waiting for? And there you have it, guys. You may be catching that commercial as well during your time scrolling through Instagram, because Have Nots is doing an amazing push of marketing and advertising right now. So if you do see, if you're a local company, you see one of those posts, like it, interact with it, share it, get it out there, guys, because Have Nots is one of the best production companies in South Florida that is putting on local talent on a consistent basis. And again, like we said last week, there's a bunch of new variety shows that they're going to be doing and a lot of awesome, really cool stuff that they're going to be providing for the local comedy scene in the upcoming future. So big shout out to Dom P and Have Nots and everything that they're doing over there. And thank you again for allowing me to be able to be a part of that marketing push and being in that commercial. It was super fun being able to film that with Dom at the Improv, and I think he did an amazing job as well editing that. Man, he's doing everything for them, man. He's editing the commercials, he's producing the shows, he's performing on the shows. I mean, Dom is really, man, a master. Josh, have you ever done a Have Not show before?
I haven't done one yet. I had Dom on my show, I think with you, a month ago. So yeah, we talked about it, but I think he was pretty booked out and whatever. But yeah, no, I'm pumped.
Dude, I'm telling you, once you get on one of those, you'll see.
They do them every month at the Fort Lauderdale and the Miami Improv.
Right.
So it kind of gives you a chance. And he does book. I've been on the same page. I did one at the beginning of the year. I'm like, hey Dom, when are you gonna have me on again? And it's, he gets
his dates
up.
were overlapping with my show a little bit. On Thursdays. So we were hitting on the same day for a bit. And over the summer, I think I'm only gonna be in town for like 1 week a month, just for stuff. But we'll figure it out. I'm pumped to do them. They look awesome. And actually, I came to one. I think with you, Dabba, a couple people, and it was phenomenal show. It was a great show.
And Dart also films those. So coming out of those, you always get. I mean, Dom's done a tremendous job, anyways. But like, you always get nice clips, nice pictures, nice recap reels. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Staying at the Miami Improv, guys, this weekend, I am sorry, but if you didn't get tickets, you're too late for Nate Jackson, guys, because he is coming through and he's going to be doing his thing. If you haven't seen Nate on social media, you got to check him out because his content is second to none. It's what makes him sell out every single show in a weekend, guys. If there is any tickets available, it'll be on a first come first serve basis in terms of our waiting list over at the Miami Improv, guys. So what I'm telling you now is do not go on any other website. I'm sure that there is Nate Jackson tickets listed on other places right now for an extreme markup. You're going to be paying $250 for tickets you can't use at the Improv. So don't do it. Don't buy the tickets. The best case scenario for you guys is to come in person during the start time of the show. We start a waiting list at that point, and then 30 minutes in, if we have any space, we'll then start calling people into that waiting list depending on how much space we have in the showroom at that time. So guys, again, it's just a warning for you guys. I hate working the front and seeing people come through with tickets, having to reject them, and then being like, but we paid $300 a ticket, and I have to look them in the face and say, I'm sorry, it says it right here. No tickets from any third party. So because it is sold out, I just want to let you guys know that that is the case.
And I'll add this. If you ever are buying tickets, whatever it is, you have a question, you're concerned about something, just message me on the comedy calendar. I'll answer your questions. I'll help you, make sure that you're doing the right thing if you're not sure what you're doing.
But huge shout out to Nate Jackson, guys, and him coming through and doing an amazing weekend. This has already been, had to get pushed back, I believe. He had some kind of, I think he got sick or there was some kind of issue where he wasn't able to do a weekend that was about last month, I believe, and they pushed it back to now. So he is hitting it on Memorial Weekend. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, sold out show, guys. So sorry, can't get tickets. Moving on, though, to Saturday, we have a new room alert on May 24th, guys. Liz Rubin is running a new room, and I believe, Art, you have some more information on that.
Yeah, dude. So it's been doing, I think, 3 or 4 weeks now, every Saturday, Gates Hotel. And this past weekend, actually, Dan was there, got to film, got to take pictures, and he made a little recap reel for us. So if you can set that up for us.
Hey, stop scrolling!
She tries to go in there, man. I'm like, get your ass back here. Yeah. Pay this fucking $20. Like, his Instagram would have been popping.
Like, between Dolly and Pam Anderson, those are my 2 idols.
Right, my husband loves blowjobs and I love to nap.
All original parts, nothing repurposed.
Yeah, dude, that looked really, really dope and really looks like a cool spot as well.
Dude, Liz Rubin coming out the gate with, you saw in the clip there, Kyle Grooms, Ellie Rodriguez, Dom P, Brian G, like all the top showrunners in Miami. So
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to at least some point probably getting on that stage and doing that room, man. It looks really dope, and it looks like something that's going to be around for a good amount of time because she's running it what looks like the right way, booking really great comics. So I can't see how that doesn't work out in Liz's favor in terms of having it be a really good, consistent room. And that's one of those things also that we've been talking about on this show about like producing. And we're going to get into it with you as well, is kind of like the shows that are coming up now. Anytime, I feel like we're starting to understand that there's a baseline level of how good the space has to be, and where there is actual value to be had from a room rather than just doing it to do it. You know, just to say you have a mic on a Wednesday, or just to say you have a place to go on a Saturday. If it's not a good room, it doesn't work. Yeah. And from everything that I saw from there, I mean, Dan, maybe you can attest to it. Were the vibes good there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hotel lobby. It was really nice. They definitely. They definitely made it happen for them. They made it, and then it was a little hard to capture the crowd's attention because they were like a bar, but the comedians they managed to really overpower that and overcome that, better said. And yeah, they killed it. They really killed it.
Nice, man.
You gotta have comedic power to go there, and Liz really did bring that out. You know,
dude,
he's a great showrunner.
That's sick.
We got to start having Dan do reviews for us.
Yeah,
bro.
right?
That was good.
As long as Dan's there, he can do a little review, man. I mean, Dan is probably the guy that pays attention to the show the most throughout the show if he's there taking pictures. So,
and he's got to rewatch it like 4 times afterwards to edit everything.
Right.
Put it out together.
Yeah. So, yeah, good shit, Dan. Thank you. This now Sunday though at the Miami Improv, guys, we have a matinee show, and it is the matinee show really at the Miami Improv right now. I believe it's like the 3rd or 4th one that he has done, but it is El Caballo coming back to the Miami Improv for a matinee, this time on a Sunday, the day before Memorial Day, so you can go and day drink and have a good time and still not have to worry about work the next day. Go out and enjoy one of these El Caballo shows, man, because he kills it every single time, and it's a packed out vibe, and it is immaculate. The energy that comes out of that room, his fans come out and support him every single time, and that is something that he does at a really, really high level, and I'm super impressed every time I see his people and how much support he gets at all of his events.
I gotta shout him out, man. I mean, 4 p.m. on a Sunday, it's hard to get me excited about those shows,
right?
But I'm excited to go to work that day. I know it's gonna be, plus we have, it's going to be a long night. So we have Nate Jackson afterwards. But starting at 4 with El Caballo, man, is going to be like nothing else. The crowd's going to be rowdy. I can't wait to see who he's going to have on the lineup.
Yeah.
But I know he's going to bring the heat.
I agree. I totally agree. And I'm really looking forward to that show as well. Every single time El Caballo comes through, it's a party.
Yeah.
And I don't think this Sunday will be any different. There's still some tickets available, guys. So if you want to go and get those, go to MiamiImprov.com now.
I'm almost hoping something crazy happens in the news before his show, just to see what he says about crazy things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting for some crazy headline to come out so he can just swing for the fences on it. I don't know.
I agree. Well, that would be this week in South Florida comedy, guys. And again, if there's anything else that is happening in South Florida comedy, you can always check out the South Florida comedy spreadsheet that is in the link of our description, or that is linked in the description of our show right now, guys. You can always see the other shows that are happening in South Florida that we couldn't get to now because there is so much going on. We just don't have that much time because we got to get into an interview with the very funny Josh Brak. Josh, you've been doing stand-up for how long, bro?
Right around 3 years, man.
Nice.
Yeah, right around 3 years. Real quick too, I wanted to shout out because we were talking about stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people that I'm really into right now is Pete Lee, and he's here also at Fort Lauderdale Improv this weekend.
Heck yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love that dude. I got into him like pandemic time, and he's like meteoric since then. But I know a lot of people are really into like the crowd work clips and like all that kind of stuff. And that dude is one of the best out there right now.
Dude, shout out to Fort Lauderdale Improv. Definitely missed it on my recap. But
nice.
Dude, shout out to Fort Lauderdale Improv, bringing that heat.
Yeah, dude, Pete Lee, if you guys want tickets, again, FortLauderdaleImprov.com. You can go right there and get your tickets for that show. That is a good shout out, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, they're dope. And a couple of my buddies, my buddy Ryan that works with Liquid Death, works with Pete. And Liquid, I don't know if you guys know that, but Liquid Death started working with young comedians like when their brand launched. That was like their main push was to work with young comedians. So like I'm a big fan of their brand just because of that. Because like we all know when you started out, it's tough. And they were like, let's find these guys that are like on the rise. Let's throw some, a little bit of money. Let's get them to promote the brand, and it's invested in by like Pete Lee, Tom Segura, like guys like that.
Right.
So yeah, it's a dope brand, but also like a really cool cause that they want to help people like us, early on. So anyway,
awesome.
Big fan.
Well, if anyone ends up going to the show this weekend and has any pictures or wants to send anything to the comedy calendar, definitely do a recap next week and shout them out, man.
Yeah, sure. Dope. Yeah, I only say that just because like getting into comedy, those are like some of the guys that you like watched early on that maybe not like everybody knew. They weren't the Dave Chappelles or the people like that like were like already worldwide, but you looked at them and you're like, they're really, really good at their job. Like they're phenomenal.
For me, that was Andrew Schultz.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, that was kind of like during the same kind of time period. I saw him doing comedy in a different way than I had ever seen anyone else do it, and talking about it and like busting people's balls, but respectfully in a way.
Right.
And it kind of motivated me. I was like, man, I can kind of like see some. I can see myself doing something like that.
Sure.
You know. So it was dope. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
What got you into comedy? What was it that made you want to like start that journey?
Yeah, like I mean, like from like high school time, man. I remember watching like Martin Lawrence and people like that, and I was just like, oh, dude, I want to get on stage and make people laugh, because I was a kid that cut up, and I was, like I would get in trouble at the dinner table for saying stuff, and stuff like that, So I was, already like had that like in my mind that I was funny, but like had no idea what I was talking about or doing, other than that. And so like I would watch guys like that, like growing up, and then I really got into Daniel Tosh, like early on. He came from my hometown. I grew up in Central Florida. He was from like same county I grew up in.
Wow.
So I knew about him a little bit, and then I think he was like Orlando, Miami guy for a bit, and then obviously when his show took off on Comedy Central, like like everybody knew who he was at that point. But I'm sitting there watching that like, okay, this like, because he went at everybody, and that's kind of my approach is like, hey, like, if you can go at everybody and make fun of yourself and everybody else on the planet, like, then it's funny, you're not punching down, you're just punching all around, and so I'm a big fan of that.
It's very interesting you say that, because one of your brand of comedy is like dark with a heart,
Yeah.
It's kind of like you hit some really dark humor, but it's always coming from a place that's like really positive, right? So it never like it feels bad. And when you mentioned Tosh, like I think he has kind of that like no discrimination towards everybody, because he's gonna fire at everybody,
Right.
And pull that little dark nugget out of the thing that maybe everyone else feels is shiny,
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things I was gonna ask you about, and you hit on the head. It was like Tosh, like that's a good role model for that style,
Yeah. I like him a lot. I think that he's still doing that. You still watch his stuff, and he'll throw something out there, and you're like, ooh, is that racist? And then all of a sudden he'll like throw it at, the next group and the next group. And you're like, okay, so he's just calling everybody out on their bullshit, and I'm like, I'm a huge fan.
And on his new podcast, his first person that he interviewed, it wasn't his like wife's gynecologist or something.
On Tosh's podcast?
Yeah.
It was one of the first interviews. Yeah, I believe so.
So like you can already tell, that's like,
yeah.
That's such a troll behavior. You know what I mean? Like
100%,
it's so good.
but like
so good.
masterwork, it's awesome.
So talking about kind of brands, like, you have very strong brands. Like even like on your website, for example, it calls it out, like kind of like lets people know what kind of comedy they're gonna see. But you also have other brands that you kind of set up specifically. One of the ones here is Wash Your Mouth Out Comedy. Lovely little sticker that you created here for it. But how did that come about? I mean, you definitely, you put some thought into this.
For sure. And that's one of the things, like I said, I was the kid cutting up all the time, getting in trouble. So like my mom would, I came from that old school. She's like bar soap, or like, probably not a bar soap, it was like soft soap, man. She would just like slather it on her hands, slap it on your tongue, and like when I was a kid, you got in trouble for saying stuff, or whatever. And so you're like, oh man. So like the thought of that just popped in my head. It was like, that's kind of my roots, is like I got in trouble for saying stuff at times, or like, thinking I was being funny and they're like not appropriate, or whatever. And so that's kind of where the Wash Your Mouth Out came from. And I just felt like a lot of people could relate to that. And also supposed to let people know it's not going to be a clean comedy,
right.
Kind of a thing, or whatever. Though I do get messages and people are like, is it clean comedy? And I'm like, no, it's called Wash Your Mouth Out comedy. And they're like, oh, I thought that meant it was clean, like afterward. And I'm like, it's not a before and after like situation. Like it's just, this is, so but anyway, that's kind of the brand. It's just like, hey, like I tell people when they come on my show, like you can say whatever you want. Here's the demographic of this show. Right. Come do whatever you want to do. Like, I'm not going to ever tell anybody you can't come up here and do your brand of comedy. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, that's on you. Like, come be yourself. Come tell your jokes, and like, hopefully it hits.
The crowd will let you know if it worked.
100%, man. 100%.
No, but I give you a lot of props, man, because as someone who's like very brand, or like, I think about that often, and like everything you do, like even like on your shows, your backdrop is really, really good backdrop. So every picture from the show comes out with the backdrop, and it kind of like adds more allure to what's going on. And I love that you take that brand and you have another brand, which is LOL Live Comedy. Right. And is that the wing of it that's focused directly with the charities?
Yeah, that's what I've been kind of running the shows under right now, is just the LOL Live. Because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the whole brand right away. So I was like, if I just do the LOL, this is the live stuff that we're doing. And I think live comedy is so important because everybody is watching comedy on their phones now, right? Everybody's watching TikTok videos, or they're watching Netflix specials or stuff like that. And I sometimes, even as a host, forget to remind the audience that this is live comedy. Like, you guys are here in this moment only, and what you see today is the the only time you're ever going to get to see
Yeah.
this. You know, this isn't
Yeah.
recorded. This isn't something you can share with your friends or whatever tomorrow, you know, on the internet. This is your moment right now to just have fun, watch live comedy. Anything can happen. And I think that's huge because, you know, we're so device oriented now.
Right.
And, you know, sure, I can watch it and I can watch it. And it kind of, sometimes it almost dumbs it down. Like, you know, and I notice like I'll watch some of the funniest stuff, but I don't laugh. You know, I'm just like, that's really funny. Let me share that with, you know, like Art and Sebby and like whatever. But I don't laugh at it. And I feel like people are doing that at shows more and more. It's like you see them smiling, they're enjoying themselves, but they're not laughing out loud. And so I was like, I really want to push the, like, let it out. Let the rest of the crowd know you're having a good time. Let the comedians know you're having a good time. And you let yourself know you're having a good time. You know?
Bro, that's really good. I didn't think about it like that, but you're absolutely right. Like there's been shows, especially with the younger crowds, where even after the show, I'm like, man, like, was it, you guys enjoyed it? Like, oh, we loved it. I'm like, why weren't you laughing?
Yeah.
Like, why weren't you like letting me know that you were having a good time? Like, no, we nodded.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like
100%.
Like, no, I feed off your laughter. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, if you had it on the screen, I would have hearted it. Like, I don't. It doesn't work like that. I need to see the love. You know?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's good. And then as far as, because you mentioned a little bit earlier, as far as some of the charity work that you've done, like, where did that start off? Like, what did that? 'Cause you're, you know,
I just needed tax write-offs.
nice. Yes, that's the right answer.
No, it
Heard that? Julian, write that down.
no, I mean, it started because I had a friend that had a charity that would buy toys for underprivileged kids every year for Christmas, right? And they were running it in Broward County, and so I was working with them a little bit, doing some volunteer work, doing stuff like that. And I decided, hey, like, let's do a show at that space that we, you know, got offered, and let's just promote it. Let's do a charity show. All the money will just go to kids for Christmas. That'll be cool, you know. And we started last July, so it's almost been a year. So I was like, let's do that. It'll be like a Christmas in July kind of feel. You know, we made, I think, a couple $1,000s. Throw that, so, you know, and like, I mean, I don't know how you guys grew up. I grew up in, like, we weren't poor, but like we didn't have a ton, and so it was one of those, like, there was always Christmases that you were like, man, all my friends got, you know, a Nintendo, or they got, you know, like this Power Ranger thing, or like whatever it was, and like I really wanted it, but like my parents were like, well, we kind of had to use the money and buy you clothes, you know, or stuff like that, you know. So I was like, man, I remember kind of being one of those kids that wished I had a little bit more. So like, let's do what we can, you know, and so it started that way, and we did, I think, 1 or 2 shows with that, and then a couple people had approached me about like, hey, what about, like, I have a charity, you know, like a pet rescue. I have a charity that works with first responders, stuff like that. So I was like, dude, let's hit it up, and like, you know, and then it just kind of grew from there. And so like we've had a few people approach us, and I've also just reached out to just different ones depending on the month and stuff like that. You know,
That's
like,
dope,
hey,
man.
do you guys want us to work with you? And it's cool too, because they bring in like a demographic, or at least a group of people that might not, you know, normally go to a show. So you say, hey, like, these volunteers at a pet rescue, do they want to come to a comedy show? And they're like, yeah, they'd love to come to a comedy show. And I mean, that was one of the best ones we had. We did one Oakland Park, up in Oakland Park, and they brought in a bunch of people. They brought in like one of the dogs that was going to have surgery, you know, or whatever, for the benefit. It was really, really cool. So
Nice.
Dude, yeah, because I'm really interested in those like cross sections of, you know, people who, everyone has comedy on their phone now, like you said, but like a lot of people haven't gone and seen a live comedy show, right? And this is what this whole podcast is about, is, you know, introducing people to it and making them understand, like, hey, it's a really low barrier of entry. Like, yes, if you want to go see, you know, Dave Chappelle at the Hard Rock, you're going to go through steps, right? 100%. But if you want to just meet a local comedian, you can just go to a bar and just watch his stuff, and then go outside and talk to him while he's smoking a cigarette and tell him what you liked and what you didn't like.
100%.
And we talk a lot about like shows where it's like teacher shows or nurse shows, you know, it's kind of like a niche demographic. And I think you've hit something really good here, because there's a lot of organizations, and what they're trying to do is get the word out about themselves. Like, if more people knew that it existed, they'd get more support. So this is a perfect way to kind of micro market. And again, these organizations are locally based. So if you're doing a show right next to where they are, it's only going to drive the attention and the traffic, let's say, to them. So really dope, man. And if there's any organizations you work with, especially as we're getting towards Christmas time or whatever it is, dude, let us know. We'll definitely be able to, something that we want to do to support and get the word out as well.
That'd be great, man.
It's awesome.
That'd be awesome.
I just downloaded this really cheap Chinese AI, and one of the things I do is
What could go wrong?
well, it has no parameters, right? So it really goes out there and finds information. And I put your name on there. I was like, hey, tell me some stuff about him that I can. And well, first they sent me a bunch of pictures. Dude, are you publishing your dick pics on public, like online or something?
Maybe. I could be.
But besides that, it also told me a little bit about some commercials and modeling that you did. So I'm not sure if you were.
Yeah. I started, that's like kind of my like step into the entertainment world. I started modeling when I was a teenager, and worked with some different brands then, and did some commercials and stuff like that. And kind of dipped in and out of that world for a while, that's really what brought me to Miami initially, was doing that. And then I got really into photography, so I started like meeting models and stuff and being like, hey, like we're on a shoot together, but like I also do photography, can I do some photos of you, stuff like that. So I kind of got into that world for a while, and that led me into like, you know, different parts of marketing and working with like, you know, different celebrities across the country, and working with their marketing and social media and stuff like that, which is kind of where some of the branding came from, because you had to really learn like the branding with those guys.
Dude, it makes sense, man.
So,
I'm telling you, like you come out strong with this stuff, and you know, it shows. I mean, it shows. Obviously, you have some background in this world, and I was excited when I saw the modeling thing. I'm like, oh, please let me find some of those pictures. Please let me find one. I did.
You could have asked me. I'd have sent you a couple.
Yeah, all I got was Dick.
I got an Abercrombie one. I can. I want to see it. I just want to make sure it's mine. Was it black?
It's to the right.
It's mine.
It was to the right. Yeah, there we go.
That was mine.
All
Good.
right.
It's a crescent moon.
As far as comedy, I know you've worked with. I mean, you travel a lot, right? So that's one of the things that I've known since the beginning. Like it's your schedule is very travel based, and in your travels, you've gotten to meet a ton of comedians and worked with some of them. I know on your website it mentions Tom Dustin and Forrest Shaw.
Yeah.
Like, how are those guys? I mean,
yeah, if you haven't seen those guys, they're amazing. You know, Tom actually he's at Comedy Key West. If you guys don't know, he's one of the owners of Comedy Key West. But he actually just had a movie released. Joe List made a movie about him called Portrait of a Comedian. And I know he's been screening it and stuff like that.
Oh, no way.
You guys should check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been doing that. But Tom's one of those travel dudes. He's absolutely hysterical. He's as seasoned as a comedian will ever get. I think he's out of Boston, but you know, he moved to Key West, and he crushes. You know, he usually hosts the shows there, and it's daunting sometimes having to follow Tom Dustin, because like, you know, he'll have a headliner up and you're like, if I was the headliner, I don't know if I want to follow Tom with his opening like 10 or 15, man. I mean, he's just really, really, really good. He's seen it all. He's done it all. I've seen crowds where I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. And Tom goes out and just kills, because he knows every situation, what everyone's going to respond to. You know, I mean, he's just that guy. Damn.
That's dope.
And I'm excited to see his movie. I haven't gotten to see it yet, but I know they've done some screenings out in LA. And I saw he just did one in Key West. So
cool.
I'm pumped on that. Forrest is out of LA. He runs a show at the Hollywood Improv out there, the Shawsome show. He hasn't let me on yet, but no, I haven't been out there for it yet, but he's incredible. You know, he had Bill Burr on, I think, a month or two ago. You know, he's got a lot of great guys that do his show, but he travels all over. So I'll be opening again for him later this year. So I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
about
Sweet,
that.
man. That's awesome.
And one of the things Sebi and I have been talking about is, you know, doing a little bit of traveling. We've done a little bit already, but even like here, home base, like Key West is a place I've been to Key West a million times. I haven't been there since I started doing comedy.
Yeah.
So I haven't explored the scene. I had a couple of friends, like Mike Dabo was down there, I think at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, and couldn't stop saying good things about it. So definitely, I think
It's an
Sebi and I, this summer,
club.
we're going to have to plan a couple of days down there.
Absolutely.
They're amazing, dude. It's kind of
Ray
feels
just laughs,
like my home club, because they've been so nice to me. They've let me on several times a year. If I reach out, you know, like 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to be opening for Adrienne Iapolucci there. And
nice.
If you don't know, she's got a Netflix special.
Didn't
out.
Ari Shaffir produce it?
What's that?
Wasn't Ari Shaffir like big in producing it?
He may have. I know Louis C.K. Produced,
Okay,
or whatever,
okay.
and I think she worked with him for a while. But it's called Dark Queen. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, as somebody who dabbles in dark humor, she's incredible. You know, she destroyed.
So in preparing, I actually did a little research, and like, dude, the reviews for her are ridiculous.
Dude, she's so good.
Dude,
she's so good.
She's
really good.
When it's out, I'm
super
ready.
Pumped. Yeah, I'm super pumped. Yeah, definitely check that out. I think it came out in November. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Check it out. She's great. I'm excited to open for her, especially like I said, as somebody that has some dark comedy in their stuff. You know, like, it's not her dark, you know, or whatever. So I feel like it's like it should be a good compliment, because like I'm gonna play in that world a little bit, and then she's just gonna come in and destroy it. You know, so I'm like, perfect. You know, so it should be a great pairing. I'm excited to work with her. So
dude,
hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this summer is gonna be. You know what? As a matter of fact, maybe that's. Keep me up to date, because maybe that's the date that will go down. At least just to say what's up. You know what I mean? Show some love and support.
Cool.
We've definitely been looking for some kind of travel dates. I got to do Off the Hook a couple weeks ago and Boca Black Box. And then you got to do Tuga last week. So we've been trying to like just slowly pulse out of Miami. And
have you done Boca before?
That was my first time.
Nice. That's a good spot. I did a show with Phil Medina there maybe a month and a half ago, something like that. Did his first show, and then I hosted the second show. And Phil's a killer too. He's awesome. If you guys haven't seen him, he's amazing. But it was a blast. It was great. That's a good spot. And I saw Off the Hook being sold.
Is it
somebody
really?
was telling me, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I heard they have killer food too. You were talking about killer food at Comedy
Yeah,
Club
yeah.
because like some comedy, it's hit and miss, or whatever. But like if you can have a killer dinner and watch an amazing show, like it's a good club.
It's hard to beat.
No, and Off the Hook is a scratch kitchen, so everything's made from scratch back there. I mean, I literally was there and I saw the lady preparing the brownies from scratch. I'm like, oh, you're not joking around.
Yeah.
And dude, if they're getting sold, I mean, best of luck to them, dude. That's more and more money in comedy here down here in South Florida. You know what I mean?
It's amazing.
You love to see it. So, Josh, when you first got into comedy, everyone gets into it. You start doing the open mics. You start kind of feeling your way out. What are some of those first places that you hit up, and where did you kind of cut your teeth in terms of becoming a comic?
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, most of it was down here, man. I have to shout out my buddy Nick Masick because Nick was super cool. He really helped push me, early on. I went to a couple of the shows with him, and I'd only been on stage a couple times, and he was like, dude, do this, come see these people, and I had to do what we all did is you sat for an hour and a half, 2 hours your first couple times, waited for all the people who knew what they were doing to go. And then they're like, all right, we got 8 minutes, so you get 5, or whatever,
Right.
hop up there, and you just, but it was one of those kind of perseverance things that a lot of comedians, I think if they make it a couple years at least, had to go through, where you went and sat somewhere, you waited, you bought your time, and then you got on stage at the end when only 3 people were left, but you worked out a couple jokes and at least got a laugh or two, and then you were like, all right. So definitely that. I'd done some different stuff, like emceeing some small things and stuff like that. And so I had a couple people even birthday parties or events that were like, hey, I know you're trying to work on some comedy. Do you want to come maybe roast for a little bit and do maybe 15 minutes of that and mix? So I'd all right, let me write some jokes. Let me practice that,
Right.
So, by the time I kind of started doing more traditional stand up, I already had my teeth cut a little bit on that, but
Cool.
still didn't know what I was doing, or whatever. But
That's actually a good way in. I mean, listen, if anyone out there has a kid's party, a funeral, anything they want, I can
Right.
go. I can host an MC for them.
Great.
I mean, depending on what the gig is, the prices are negotiable.
Yeah, they've been looking for that art. They've been looking for comics for the funeral.
yeah,
That's right.
and kids.
You do
parties.
brisses as well?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not sure what that is, but my mouth is always ready.
There you go.
Let me ask you about Nick Masick. Is he still doing boat campers?
Yeah, that's on Wednesdays, man. It's a dope spot because he's been doing it for 4 years, so he's got it down. We did it last week, and in season especially, that place is
During the football season?
bonkers. No, like season in South Florida.
Oh,
Snowbird
yeah,
season.
snowbird season. Gotcha.
Because there's so many. It's the one on the beach in Fort Lauderdale Beach, and that show. They can pack that room out, or whatever.
And do people,
And,
is it a place where, if it is packed out, are people engaged in the
it's
show
in a private
itself?
room.
Oh,
so,
okay,
so
perfect,
it's dope
perfect,
because
perfect.
yeah. And I'll shout him out because he's been super cool to me. He's really helped push me, put me in contact with people. But that show and pretty much all the shows, he's got a new show on Tuesday nights now that's right next door to that at the Residence Inn, but it's again in a private room.
Yeah.
So it's super cool because all the shows that he does, he makes sure it's in a private room. He doesn't want TVs on. He's if you're in there, you're in there for comedy. You're not in there to watch a hockey game or a football game or whatever.
For sure.
You came for comedy. If you want to watch that stuff, you can do that. It's out in the other room. Whatever.
And he's one of those guys. I met him I think once or twice, but he's one of those guys I have a lot of respect for because when I first kind of started my first year, I reached out to him one time. Hey man, can I be on your show? And he pretty much told me, hey, I haven't seen you do enough reps. Let me see you do some more reps and then reach back out.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that over being ghosted or someone being blowing smoke up your ass
100%.
and then never booking you.
No, did the same thing to me, man. Early on, I went to one of his things. I was like, "Hey, man, can I get on?" And he was like, "I've seen you once, and no, or whatever." But all that does, if you're serious, then you work hard because you want to be there, and if you're not serious, then he knows that because you never show back up.
Exactly.
So,
Well, and definitely, this summer is going to be a little bit crazy on some of our Wednesday shows, but I'm definitely going to make a plan to get up there in both campers, check it out. Maybe get Dart in there with me. We'll do a little recap for him.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Check that or his new Tuesday room too, because that's a private room.
That's
and,
the residence thing you said, right?
Yeah, it's literally right next door. They have a restaurant there, so he sets it up like a little comedy club. It's got tables. They bring food, liquor, all that stuff in. So yeah, it's dope. Yeah, we did it last week.
That's
It was
awesome.
crazy. We grabbed a picture with I don't know, maybe 10 80-year-old women that were part of the show or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was some weird Golden Girls situation, but they're like, we want photos with you guys. I was like, let's do it.
do it,
So it's fun.
And so you start off, you start going to these rooms, you start, like you said, you cut your teeth, you get involved. When was it that you transitioned into being a producer and actually putting on shows?
It was Probably, I think the first one was a year ago. Yeah, I again, kind of being a part of, like either hosting, as a guest host here and there or whatever, and setting up, kind of got like a little bit of a feel for like, okay, here's the kind of stuff that you have to do just to get a room ready. The marketing stuff, I kind of already had like a little bit of an idea of what I wanted to do. And then about a year ago, somebody approached me and was like, hey, there's this like kind of speakeasy space next to this consignment shop now. They don't know what to do with it. They're not using it. It's kind of warehouse feely. Like, do you want to do anything? And I was like, why not? Let's see. I bet no one shows, but like, let's see what happens. And I think our first show was like sold out. We had like 70 plus people at it,
Nice.
So it's just, again, I wouldn't recommend it right away. Like right now I'm starting to split time between here and Nashville, and people are like, are you gonna start running shows in Nashville? And I was like, not right away, man. Like, you gotta know the comedian scene really well. So you have to know people that you can bring on and book. Like, you guys know that, like, just for your podcast, like you can't just bring anybody on because otherwise it's gonna fall apart, right? And same idea, you gotta have a room. The room's gotta be, accessible, easy, that's one of the good things
sense
about mine is it's got free parking, which is a dope, opportunity for people to just show up and not feel like, I had to hunt for parking. It was a chore and like all that,
something that a lot of people don't even think about also, because the other thing too is like you get a venue or you find a space and you're like, oh, okay, this works, but you don't think, oh, if I'm doing this on like a Thursday and there's a bunch of people already at this restaurant or bar, like they have parking for what they have. And if you add a show where you're bringing 50 extra people who have no intention of eating at the restaurant or are just coming to that show, that could be 25, 30 more cars that are showing up to that space. If in a parking lot, having 30 to 40 extra spaces on a given night, not really common, especially in Miami, South Florida, where real estate, there aren't just garages and you know what I mean, like connected
street parking or a garage,
exactly,
or like, whatever, like 3 blocks away.
I find that is overlooked so often. That is one of those like little details that, like, if you're looking at a space, if it doesn't have that, you have to taper your expectations. You know what I mean? Like, because you can't be somebody who gives away 1,000 tickets to bring 100 people in a space that doesn't have parking. It's crazy.
Well, Sebi and I were looking at a venue recently, and they wanted to hit like do 100 to 150 people shows, but they only have parking for 50. So the rest of the parking would have been like on the streets, and like it's not like downtown on the street. It's like kind of like gravel and wet ditches, and it's like, oh, that's gonna be a problem. Like you might do everything right inside and people just don't come back because they're not able to get there. They're not able to park 100%. And feel comfortable. People want to get out in high heels in the mud. No, come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, those little things, what are some of those other aspects, at least for you, that when you're looking at a space or when you're kind of feeling it out and thinking, oh, maybe I could do comedy here? What are like the baseline requirements, at least for yourself, that you go, okay, now this qualifies for a room that is possible?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest, and I think you shouted it out, maybe for, I can't remember if it was Ellie's show or whatever, but just like talent, dude. Like you've got to know talent, or at least have an idea of, who could be talented or who works for that audience. Like if you know your audience, it took me probably 6-7 months just to kind of get an idea of who was coming to my room regularly. And then I had an idea of like, okay, I know the people who are going to kill no matter who they're in front of. And I also know people who are going to do well in this space only. And I know the people who probably won't. And I've had people reach out to me and be like, hey, I want to be on your show. And I'm like, it's probably not going to go well for you, So like, you have to just be like, hey, like, like either I'm booked up or like, hey, I'd love to have you on, but like, I'm just not sure this is the right thing. It has nothing to do with you. It's the audience. And I don't know how they're going to respond. So I think that's a big part of it that, people also don't think about is like, who's coming to this show. And I mean, it goes all the way up to like a Miami Improv. I remember the first time I was on at the Miami Improv, I went on a show that was like all Latin comedians, all Latin crowd. And I get there telling like non-Latin jokes. And the crowd was just like, why are you here? Kind of an idea. And it was just like the wrong show for me to be on, or whatever. And it was no one's fault except I like pushed because I want to be on, or whatever. And then like got on. I was like, okay, now like I understand that like the reason I wasn't asked to be on this show or like whatever is because this wasn't the right, lineup for me to be on. And I think that, trickles all the way down to a smaller show like mine. So that's a big thing. Obviously, the parking, like we said. And I think, even just having, like drinks. Alcohol we know makes people laugh harder than they normally would. So, there's a reason for that. If you can get food, that's huge because doing a show at 8:00, it's South Florida. Nobody eats at 6 p.m. in South Florida. That's just normal for down here. So if you can, have a thing that even if it's like light bites, snacks, stuff like that, that's huge. Food truck, or something like that. If you can throw that outside, that kind of stuff just all makes like a little bit of a difference for shows and gives people an extra reason to come because like, hey, I had to go out and eat anyway. I might as well get a show.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, it shows how much thought you've put into this stuff, man, because the quality of the shows are up there, and I remember after you booked me right before the show, maybe a day or two before, you sent me like a kind of a whole rundown, like explaining everything. Hey, from where to park to, the drink situation, to what kind of crowds we were expecting. And it was just like very informative. And having done a lot of shows, it's very rare that somebody's like, hey, here's a little bit of a prep sheet for you.
Sure.
So you kind of know what you're walking into, especially your first time doing a show. And it was very helpful because I have, I tailored my set to that crowd.
Right.
I wasn't pandering, but
right.
I knew the stuff that they could relate on, and I knew the stuff that was going to go over their head. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
1,000%.
It landed. I mean, you're talking about my dad, talking about those things was perfect for that demographic. They loved it. They ate it up. Even one of the old men like kind of corrected me during my set. So it was like, oh, this is real. Like this is a real thing I'm talking about here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's big to be able to do that. I kind of approach like how I produce on how I want to be able to show up to a show, because I've showed up to shows completely blind. They didn't tell me where to park. They didn't tell me anything. I'm searching for the room and doing all that, all the way up to people who have also just been like, hey, there's street parking on these 2 streets. There's a parking garage 2 blocks away. It costs X amount. I'll cover it. Or, or whatever it is, all the way up to that. And so I kind of looked at both of those and was like, how do I want people who come to my show? Because like, if I don't take care of you guys when you come to my shows, you're gonna be like, I mean, the show was fine, but like, it's tough to park, or I didn't know where to go, or I didn't. I
probably won't accept the invite again.
Yeah. Or you're going to tell your friends too. Yeah. You're like, hey, like the show was all right. Like the crowd was fine, but like it was such a hassle, or whatever, that like if you're going to drive, especially for like if I'm bringing comics up from Miami up to Broward, right?
Yeah.
Do I want to drive an hour and then have to deal with a bunch of, bullshit basically? Sure, and so, and the reverse has happened to me. I've driven, an hour plus to a Miami show, and it's been, handled really well, or it hasn't been, and you're like, I don't know what to do and where to go, and I don't know this area, and I don't know the room, and where, whatever. So,
well, and for me, like I think a lot about systems. I think about repeatability, scalability, and like let's take that same scenario and let's scale it to, like, for example, the Tuga this weekend. Like those are people that obviously are operating at a very high level to be able to give the confidence, like, hey, come to a different country. You're going to have 1,000 questions. Don't worry. When you get here, we have everything figured out. We've already thought about it. We have everything laid out. Here's all the instructions and the things you need to do. So, again, what you hear from that is the comedian, the talent, in this case, Sebastian, like,
they even gave us, they even gave us the advice on how to get through customs. They were like, when you go to customs, you got to tell them this, here's your, like, they had everything on point.
Makes such a difference, though, right?
Well, it made me excited. Now I'm like, dude, I'm excited to, like, I want to see this place. I want to go there. Like, I'm going to go there on my own dime just to watch a show, and that's what you want to see. As opposed to if you came back and it's like, oh, the show was amazing, but like, the customs was a pain. Bahamas sucked. The people there are mean. You know what I mean? Like, so like the fact that they prepare everything and really set you up for success, that makes a difference. That makes me believe that Tuga is going to be a long-lasting brand. They're going to be around forever. When I see the work, when I see the attention to detail you've put into all your stuff, it makes me there's nothing that's going to be able to stop you from doing what you want to do and from reaching pretty much any goal, dude. I mean, you have hit really well on some things. So for me, looking ahead, what are some of those goals maybe you have from now until the end of the year, and then maybe even some future goals?
Yeah, man, I think you build your goals, at least I do, through like almost successes, or failures, either or, like, stuff that you're like you hit a little bit but you didn't quite hit it, or you fell flat. And for me, it was like I pushed to get into some big comedy festivals last year, and I didn't get into them. And but I asked one of the guys that sent me back, like the rejection basically. I was just like, hey, like, what are you guys looking for? And like, if you'll give me 37 seconds of your time, like, what could I do to maybe make myself more enticing as a candidate, right? And one of the big things that they said was like, like when you build your bio out and show us more of the people that you've worked with, because I didn't have any of those guys listed, like, stuff like that. They're like, because you're not a nationally known headliner at this point, right? But you featured for some people, you've opened for some people, you've worked at some cool spots, you've traveled internationally and done comedy, stuff like that. So you've hit on a little bit of it, but like, tell us some more of that stuff, assuming that you have, because they didn't know what I had done at the point. And I was like, oh man, that's a great feedback. And so I started tailoring that stuff, and I started looking at it going, okay, like my goal for this year with 2025 was to reach out and start hitting up bigger name comedians, either people who had specials that toured nationally or whatever, and be like, hey, can I hop on a show, whether it's just a local show that you're doing, or like on my dime, I'll fly out and meet you in the middle of, Missouri, because you don't have a feature there, and I'll do that because that'll build up my resume, and stuff like that. So that was kind of my 2025 goal. And, I mentioned a couple of people that I've been able to work with and have coming up. And that was basically because, you know, it's like sales. You have so many no's till you get a yes, right? So I kept like reaching out, you know, and there are people that wouldn't respond, people that were like, hey, I'm already booked, and people that, you know, were like, nah, you know, or whatever, and you're going to get that, right? And part of that was advice from them. Part of it was advice from, you know, other comedians that, you know, have done, you know, this for a long time. Lisa Correa was one. She was like, hey, like, just start blasting out emails to people that you like, that you think would be fun to be on a show with. Maybe their type of comedy, you know, would, you know, like an Adrian Iapolucci, that their type of comedy is going to, you know, pair well with you. And so I did, you know, and I got a few. Again, I got ghosted on a few, and I got a couple no's, you know, or whatever. But the yeses I got were outweighed any of that, you know. And so just kind of building that up, being able to put that so that next time somebody looks at it, they go, oh, okay, so he's worked with some people that like either we've had on our festivals or that have a Netflix special or that, you know, have been touring for 15 years or whatever it is. And if they'll let him on stage, like, why wouldn't we? You know, kind of an idea. So that was kind of my approach for this year.
It's like a pre-vetting process almost, where it's like, okay, my friend spoke well of you, so I must already, you know, you must be pretty good. You know?
Yeah.
Dude, that's, I mean, obviously, and I'll tell you, it shows, man, because like in doing the research, like your website is awesome. Like everything you just called out, literally it's listed out on your website.
Right.
I wasn't joking about using the AI system. Like I used that to help me do research, and
That's
like
awesome.
it could find a bunch of information on you. I'm guessing because you've now made it more available in the internet. You know, it kept relying back to bits you've done or jokes you've done, people you've worked with. And I'm taking notes, because that's one of the things here. Over the next couple of months, if you see the comedy calendar change and look a lot more like some of the stuff you've talked about, take full credit, dude. Because yeah, like we have, so Sebi and I created this matrix, which is like kind of a score system that I use to like weigh different options, right?
Sure.
And one of the big things on that is getting on festivals. Like it's one way to get a lot of points. And for me, it was kind of like this big hill that we have to climb one day, but I'm like, I keep putting off thinking about it. And dude, you just sparked something in me where it's like, hon, we got to be reaching out. We got to find out who's doing it. And if we're going to do it, we got to be the best at it, right? So
yeah, and I think you gotta
definitely
approach it, like pretty intelligently too, because that was my mistake. I wasn't doing that. Like I was just like, dude, I want to be on Big Pine Comedy Festival, so I'm going to submit to Big Pine Comedy Festival. And Big Pine Comedy Festival is like, who, what? You know, like, and if I want to know who you are and I went and looked, you're like, hey, I do comedy. And they're like, cool. So to the other 1,500 people who applied to this comedy festival, but like what sets you enough apart, you know, or whatever, because again, you know, you don't have the name that's, you know, that either, you know, Hulu or Netflix or these guys are looking at, and you also haven't been touring. You're not out of New York. You're not out of Comedy Store and, you know, in LA or whatever it is. So why should we give you a shot, kind of an idea. And so trying to approach it, to your point, like whether you make a matrix or just, you know, I want to color some squares, check some boxes or whatever, to really put myself in a different column was kind of my goal. Because I mean, there's a lot of people that are already doing that didn't get in, but if you're not doing that, you're definitely not getting you know, to these kind of spots. So, and that trickles over into, you know, getting bookers to look at you too, you know, because you're doing all that stuff. You might not get into that comedy festival, but you're gonna get some of these other bookers that wouldn't have looked at you before. They're like, oh, okay, like at least this guy's like, he takes it serious, and I know a little bit about him, even if I only watch 60 seconds of his clip. So.
And next year he might be on the table, and they're like, oh, dude, that guy applied last time. I've talked to him. I followed up. He's been, you know what I mean? Like, so even if you just applied once before, you now have you're on that list. You know.
Sure.
And as you're talking, all I can think about is all the work that Dan and I are gonna have to do. Dan, if you're back there somewhere, dude, we got a lot of work to do, man.
Dan's asleep right now.
Poor guy just got back. But yeah, and now like not only having like the website, for example, but like you gotta have your videos, and they gotta be on TikTok, and they gotta be clipped up perfectly, so that when those people are looking at you, they're like, oh, look at this guy. He's been doing this for a while. This clip is a year old and it's got 1 million views or whatever. Yeah, dude, some great advice there, man. Thank you.
I mean, I think one of the main things also about that is just trying to expand your horizons. You know what I mean? Like that's really what I kind of hear you saying in terms of your goals now, is that expanding outward and trying to collab with those people that are in different environments that are doing different things is kind of how you're going to be able to not stay stagnant, not be in the same positions, not be moving in the same way. And that's something that me and Art always talk about as comics since we've gotten started, is that like, you know, if in the span of a year, you find yourself still at the same room, trying to get on the same mic or trying to go into the same place, and that's the only thing you got still going, there's something went wrong. You know what I mean? Like you didn't set the right goals, or you didn't try and, push something forward, because like you said, even if you go for something and you fail a few times, you don't do anything, you'll still see dividends from those results. 100%. From that effort, there's always dividends. And I think that more comics down here need to be able to know that at certain times, yeah, it's okay to coast and do your thing, but at certain times you have to push. And you have to realize where, complacency becomes then regression, where it's not, you're not just stagnating, you're regressing. Because it's one thing to stagnate and be here and then just stay here and do this for a certain period of time. But when you start regressing, that's where there's an issue, and you put together, a really great strategy from what we've heard on how to avoid that, multiply your efforts, multiply your results, and kind of make sure that anytime you are traveling, putting on a show, doing the right thing, it's done at a high level, and it's done where, you could see on the pictures that we had of your show, it's packed out. It's in a great space. It's in a good venue. All of the key points are being hit. And I got to tip my hat to you, man. It's really impressive.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think if you want to do it full, because we all know there's a lot of people that are just having fun. Like they just want to go to a mic. This is a bucket list thing or whatever it is, right? They're gonna have a good time. But like if you want to really do it, it's a business. Like it really is a business, and you are your business. Right? So at the end of the day, how are you growing your business? Whether it's online, whether it's in person event, whatever. And it's really in this field, it's got to be all of them. So like figure out how you're going to grow it, just like anything else. And then go hit those markets up.
So last thing I'm going to ask is, you mentioned more shows. Definitely don't do them in Nashville. Do them down here in Miami. But
Nate Bargatze keeps calling me, dude. He wants me so bad up there. So that's not true at all. No,
yeah,
absolutely not.
I'll say, never mind. Fuck it, let's go. Nate, I'll go, Nate. I'll go, Nate.
He'll be like, who?
No, he's definitely getting tagged in this clip,
plus,
for sure.
He's clean. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I would have like one joke.
No, yeah.
I would be like, my name is Josh Brak. I have to go now.
He's another one, man. Isn't that kind of crazy seeing just how fast someone can spark?
Yeah.
It was like no one 5 years ago would say that Nate Bargatze is a household name, and now he is.
Yeah.
No.
I was in the airport and I saw his book right there in the the little kiosk at the terminal. It was like one of the 5 bestsellers that are like
100%.
whatever right now. His book was right there front and center. Only comedian that had a book out. That was like that. And I was like, damn. It made me think, where I was just like, that's really. You're invading the culture. You know what I mean? Like you're a part of the lexicon now.
Well, I knew, like I had seen him before, and I knew he made it when other comedians were going on podcasts talking shit about him. I'm like, that's how you know you made it, dog.
That's true.
That's how you know you made it. I can't wait until other people start talking shit about me.
Dude, he truly is brilliant.
Don't worry, we'll just talk shit about you right now.
Please.
We'll talk shit about you on this podcast. All right, we can make that happen right now.
I thought that's what the podcast was about.
Ah, you wish.
No, he is brilliant, and he's one of those people that, he's been around for a long time. It's not, pretty much anybody that's made it has been around. You just didn't know they were around.
Right.
They were in a scene somewhere.
Yeah, it's like Tom Segura and Burt Kreischer. You've seen them the last 10 years, but they've been doing this shit for 30 years.
Right,
what I
right,
mean?
100%.
Tom moved to LA when he was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like a lot of people are like, oh, like Matt Rife is an overnight sensation. I'm like, no, he's not. Like I know people in LA that worked on shows with him, and they're like, dude, like he put in his you look at all the clips that he has now, and you're like, oh, like all he has to do is clip his crowd work. But like he's been clipping his crowd work for a long time.
Yeah,
and he was one of the people that have been doing it, and all of a sudden a clip popped off. Yeah. And that's really, it's just, again, like goes back to it. It's a business.
Yeah.
Like you can have a brand, whether it's a t-shirt or a skateboard or, a car company or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, like it just takes off one day because like people are like, hey man, this is a cool product. I don't know how I didn't know about it, but my friend told me about it and I told a friend, and all of a sudden the trickle effect just explodes. And that's really, I think, how it is with this. Again, Bargatze, dude, like dude's brilliant. He writes incredible material. He is clean. That's one of the hardest things to do, is to be clean and be that,
Right.
He can act and play the part of being kind of like dumb or whatever it is, but you have to be brilliant to act that way or to pull that off. And he's a great writer. His timing is as good as I've seen on any comedian, right? And he's been around forever. And he was posting clips lately about even trying to be on the Daily Show. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he interviewed to be on the Daily Show.
He was
one of the correspondents, right? And it was down to him, and I can't remember. I don't think it was John Oliver. It was him, but he was talking about John Oliver. It was him and somebody else. The other person ended up getting it, but he went in and he was like, I completely bombed the final like interview. I just completely destroyed it. And in hindsight, he's like, they picked the right person anyway. And you look at like that person versus where Nate is now, like in that part of his life, I'm sure he was like, I failed, or whatever. Like I failed. So he just went back to doing stand up and working harder and writing and doing all that. And now like that guy's not hosting the Emmys, or SNL twice or any of that. So,
But even like Nate and Matt, they're both good examples of like people who were doing something against like let's say the advice of the OGs, you know, like back when Matt started posting some of this stuff, like it was kind of like faux pas to be posting, you know, crowd work bits.
Yeah.
Like a lot of older comedians, I saw Anthony Jeselnik recently on the podcast talking about how much he hates crowd work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's obvious that the market has shifted. You know, no one's going to Radio Row to promote their radio shows anymore. I mean, their comedy shows anymore. People are doing it on Instagram. People are doing it on social media. And those crowd work clips, even for myself, I love seeing a good crowd work. Like you feel like you're in the crowd.
Yeah.
You feel the tension. You feel like the cringiness of the heckler who's about to get destroyed, and you know this person's going to get chopped in half, you know? So there's a power to it, you know. And
it's the evolution of our art, you know. I mean, it really is. Like, I mean, you know, and I see it more in Miami, like the crowd work stuff, you know, and you see people who are reliant on it, which Matt Rife is not, you know, but that's really what he made his name off of. But you see that and you go like, okay, like that must be easy to do. And then you get on stage and you watch people like try to do good crowd work, and you're like, okay, that's all you had. You know, I mean, I've seen comedians with a 15-minute set do 11, 12 minutes of crowd work, and it was okay. Right. You know, like whatever, but like there's nothing you're going to remember from that. Right. You know, you're not going to go home and tell your friends about that, you know, but you'll tell your friends a great joke you heard yesterday, or you'll tell your friends about incredible crowd work. Like those are the only, you know, or whatever. So you have to be good at one of them, like, and exceptional, or no one cares. And I don't know. I see those guys and I'm like, way to like evolve, you know, make it your own path, you know, and then make the entire scene basically have to evolve around what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like when Dane Cook first started putting all his stuff on MySpace. It was like everybody was like, "Oh,
you
damn,
suck. Who does that?"
Yeah,
I remember.
But also everyone at the same time has to go, "Oh shit." That's how he's selling out. That's how he's you know, become the biggest name. Whatever, he has how many millions of followers on MySpace right now, and it was like I think he was like one of the top 5 followed people on the entire platform.
Yeah,
at a certain
100%.
point. Like, he was like just like one of those pages that like if you had a MySpace, you had to follow him.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And I was at that time, I was in college, and I remember like I used to be on like I hate Dane Cook, like oh the hell, that's not comedy, you know, like what he's doing is not the right way, blah blah blah. And then when I started doing comedy, immediately I thought back and I was like, he's a genius.
Yeah.
He saw
he was the first.
Yeah, I'm like, he saw the thing, and like we were saying, like stretching, going for those things that no one else is going for, and believing in yourself, and counter to everybody else.
And I remember his stand-up clips, even when I wasn't in high school, obviously when he was big, but I was in like elementary school and middle school, and I remember seeing like people would make YouTube animations about his, like they would take his clip and his bit and people would animate it, and like that would go viral on YouTube, and like people would just go and like I remember they animated the bit where he talks about like the guy coming through and shooting up the office, that he would give him a Snickers bar every day. Like they animated that really well. I remember his Burger King bit. They animated his Burger King bit to the nines, you know what I mean? Like, and those were the kind of things at the time nobody was doing. Those were fans of his that were just taking time out of their day because they loved the bit so much to create an animation and to put it on YouTube. And now that's commonplace. I see people that they have an entire series on their page where stories are getting animated, or like that's what they do. I mean, Party Legends.
And talking about value, like value-based systems. Yeah, I thought the angels were coming down. I thought the second coming was happening for a second.
Yeah.
No, but talking about like value, like you can see how much value Dane Cook created by doing those clips. That the residual value that other people were able to get by doing the animation value
changed the game.
Yeah,
He
like
just changed
even those
the game.
people went viral from just sucking on the teats of the cow. You know what I mean? So
and even Joe Rogan, like creating a podcast and then using that as your vessel. You know what I mean? Now everyone you have to have a podcast. Everybody has to have a thing, or everybody has to put out clips. Like once you get that standard, and now like you said, crowd work. Like you don't have to have it be your reliance, but it is the easiest way for you to burn material constantly.
100%. And if you have, you know, decent clips and you can put them online, then you don't have to put your actual material out there, which none of us really want to do, you know, until you've kind of retired that bit or whatever, right? So you can put that out there and you can still build up a following. You can still get people to engage with your, you know, your content.
Like I was telling you a little bit earlier about some of the strategy that we're trying to do with our clips, and like part of it is exactly that. Is like for me, like I have a hard time killing my darlings. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna hang on to this thing. So what I'm forcing myself is to do exactly that. It's to like force myself to burn material. So I'm gonna put a clip up every week, and guess what? If I haven't done a crowd work, if I haven't done something that I can clip, I'm gonna burn one of those jokes.
Sure.
So it's like it has to be part of it. And like you said too, Miami is a crowd work city.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at like some of the Latin comedians are very crowd work heavy.
Right.
So I can't remember his name right now, but he does a monthly show, and it's basically 90 minutes of him just doing crowd work.
Wow.
So it's like if the crowd doesn't show up that day, You know what I mean? Like if their energy's not there, if they're all just being quiet and sitting there. Now, mind you, it's a Latin show, so no one's ever sitting there quietly. But that's the point, is that there's a risk to it, and there's a part of our culture down here that is very open to it. People want to be a part of the joke. They want to be like, have you ever heard of Harry Mack? He's a freestyle rapper. He's one of the greatest freestyle rappers in the world, and he does these amazing freestyles, which people like. But then when he does a freestyle about their shoes and about their hat and about what they're wearing and about their friend, those are the ones.
Yeah, like his thing is he'll go up to a random group of people and be like, hey, give me 4 random words. And then he uses each one of those words throughout a freestyle. And it's always right off the top.
Talent is always.
No, yeah, it's incredible. But then on top of that, he'll, instead of just using the words, he'll also include like that. He'll say like you wearing the hat with the P, or like he'll mention your Apple Watch. He'll incorporate what you're wearing or something you said in the conversation leading up to it. Like he uses all of that. He just basically crowd work in his freestyle rap.
And those are the freestyles that go benign, like they go crazy viral.
No, and now that guy, he does live shows where he brings, people can suggest on a little link, they suggest all the words and he picks random words, or he'll bring someone on stage and he'll talk about them. And like he did it at the Improv and it was amazing. Art went to that show. I was working that show that time. Like it was amazing. Like
dude, shout out Harry Mack, but he's definitely worth like.
Incredible.
But the point is just that, is that people, when it's about them, even if it's at a lower skill level than these amazing freestyle raps that he does about other things, those are the things that stick to them, because that was about me. That person was looking at me. I feel seen. We had the last New Faces, that the mailman.
That's right.
A similar situation where this guy was standing there like looking weird the whole show. Everyone interacted with him, and eventually when Sebi gets on stage, he's like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And the guy's like, "I'm a mailman." He's like, "Really?" Like the guy, like you're looking like a mafioso, looking like and then it turns out like everybody was like they were all mailmen.
It was like a group of like 15 mailmen sitting in the front that came to watch one person.
So I see Sebi's face. So I see Sebi's face as he realizes on stage. It is like, oh, I know what the rest of my set's gonna be about.
Right.
And then the rest of the set, he's just like diving in the pool and like So it's Miami's a great place for that kind of stuff. It's almost needed here.
Yeah, man. But Josh, bro, I think a lot of people, especially in the Miami scene, that maybe don't get to see you as often or interact with you, the comics down here, I think they're going to take a lot from this interview, because what you're doing is not just difficult, but it's very admirable. You know what I mean? In terms of just having quality shows consistently, bringing the people out and getting yourself out there in other markets and trying to push yourself, man, it is super impressive. And anybody out there who is a Miami comic and you don't interact with Josh, follow him on Instagram, man. If you check out his shows, go out, support all the stuff that they're doing. Wash Your Mouth Out comedy, man. It is really, really dope seeing the expansion of that South Florida scene and you taking it other places. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
like taking that brand and doing shows, like you said, possibly in Nashville, correct?
Yeah.
Possibly doing shows down in Key West. Like producing those things and taking that vibe is something that is going to help us grow as a scene. You know what I mean? Sure. Other people going out and being like, yo, where are you from? Like, this show was so much fun. Like, where is this energy come from? It's like South Florida.
Yeah.
Like that's where this was built. That's where this was grown. And that's something that I got to commend you for, man. And thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys, both of you, for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
No, you're welcome.
You guys are doing an awesome thing here. So
thank you.
Appreciate that a lot.
I mean, dude, I'll second everything Sebastian said, man. I did the show already and it was so dope. I got to meet, obviously, like Minda Long and the Madison Bakish, which I met both of those at that show for the first time, and
they were killers too.
Dude, it was so good,
killers, man.
So good. The vibe. I met the guys from Liquid Death.
Yeah,
so
man.
cool. Like just a really good show. And I think as a recap of the whole show, I'll say I think Comedy Calendar now is gonna have to. We have to go to the Bahamas.
Yep.
We gotta have to go to Key West.
Yep.
We're gonna have to go to Nashville now
Apparently.
at some point. So. But it's interesting because we had Dom P on the show. He was one of our first guests, and he mentioned, he said, "Man, I can't wait till the day that somebody in Tennessee is like, man, I want to go down to Miami to make it in comedy." And to me, it's like it's weird how this all kind of comes together, which is, it was just a comment that he made, but like.
Right.
Very realistically, soon here there is going to be a Miami-Nashville connection. You know what I mean? Like my brother just moved to Chattanooga, so we're definitely going to be
2 hours away. Dude.
Gotta be
we'll
there.
planning
Club
at
there. There's a
trip,
good club there, man.
Heck yeah.
There's a good club there.
So it's just crazy
we'll
how
eat hot chicken together,
That'd be
and then
great,
we'll just do an
That'd be
interview
great.
there. Like, we'll
it's
just
like
kill
hot
some
ones.
like Hattie B's or something like that, dude.
Fuck yeah,
dude. They've got some crazy. I took my sister and I was like, we're gonna go get hot chicken. She's like, all right, let's do it. And she's like, I'll do a mild. I was like, what are we doing here right now? I was like, that's not hot chicken. That's chicken.
Yeah,
I was like, what are you doing?
mild turkey.
So you want it seasoned?
Yeah, I was like,
Great.
I'm sorry, what?
Congrats.
So yeah, we should go up there because they have like I think it's like mild, medium, hot, and then they have like 2 or 3 levels over hot.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, yeah, we could just sit there and hot ones that.
I love
That'd
it.
be fun.
I love it.
That'd be
Comedy,
fun.
the first comedy calendar hot ones.
Yeah.
We can do like a hot ones version of it. I'm
No,
down.
but then we also got to film us in the bathroom afterwards crying.
100%. No, in the hotel.
Yeah.
We'll get all
Door
all,
shut.
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to hold your hair, Art?
Like, yeah, I'm like, Seb, you all right? He's like, I'm okay.
Dude. That'd be awesome, dude. And I think moving forward, guys, again, follow Josh, follow Wash Your Mouth Out Comedy. He's going to be producing a bunch of stuff moving forward. Great shows, great content as well going to be coming out there. So follow him, follow Comedy Calendar as well on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the platforms, guys. Is there anything else, Art, you want to add before we get out of here?
No, man. I want to just shout out Kahlo Art for giving us that AI generated image, or that image that we use for my AI generated system here. That we're still getting all the bugs out of the robot.
There you go. Shout out. And again, shout out to you guys for tuning in every single week to the Comedy Calendar, guys. We really appreciate you staying with us and staying up to date on everything that happens in South Florida comedies. So as I say every single week, thank you again for watching the show and stay laughing.